What if the person you trusted most was plotting your destruction? The door burst open with a force that shook the entire mansion. Kwame Okonkwo, Africa's youngest billionaire at 35, stood frozen in the doorway of his mother's bedroom, his designer suit still creased from the 15-hour flight from Dubai. The sight before him shattered every reality he'd ever known. His wife, Amara, the woman he'd loved for 10 years, the mother of his two children, stood over his mother's bed with a can of kerosene in one hand and a lit match in the other. The pungent smell of fuel filled the air, and his mother, Mama Adana, lay bound to the bed with duct tape across her mouth, her eyes wide with terror and tears streaming down her weathered cheeks. "Amara, what are you doing?" Kwame's voice came out as a whisper, his mind refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. Amara spun around, the match still dancing between her fingers. For a moment, her beautiful face contorted with something Kwame had never seen before. Not surprise, not guilt, but pure, calculated rage. "You weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow," she said, her voice eerily calm. Kwame took a step forward, his hands raised. "Put down the match, Amara. Whatever's happening, we can talk about this." "Talk!" Amara laughed, a sound that sent chills down his spine. "We're past talking, Kwame. Do you know how long I've waited? How long I've played the perfect wife, the devoted daughter-in-law, while your mother controlled everything?" Mama Adana made muffled sounds behind the tape, thrashing against her restraints. The kerosene had soaked into the bedsheets, creating dark, spreading stains that promised destruction. "My mother never controlled anything," Kwame said, inching closer. "She's been retired for 3 years. She just wanted to spend time with her grandchildren." "Retired?" Amara's eyes flashed with something dark and wild. "She still holds 40% of Okonkwo Industries. 40% that should be mine. That I've earned by standing beside you, by giving you children, by smiling at your business partners while they look down on me. Because I came from nothing." Kwame's heart pounded. "The company's shares have nothing to do with—" "Everything has to do with those shares," Amara screamed, and the match in her hand flickered dangerously close to her kerosene-stained fingers. "Your lawyer, Mr. Chukwu, he told me everything last week. If something happens to your mother, her shares get divided. 30% to you, 10% to charity, and your 30%, Kwame, according to your will, comes to me if something happens to you." The room seemed to tilt. "You spoke to my lawyer? How did you—" "I have my ways," Amara smiled, but it was the smile of a stranger. "And I have plans. Big plans. Plans that don't include waiting for an old woman to die naturally while I waste my youth playing house." Kwame lunged forward, but Amara was faster. She dropped the match. Time slowed to a crawl. Kwame watched the small flame fall, tumbling through the air toward the kerosene-soaked bed where his mother lay helpless. In that split second, his entire life flashed before him. His mother's sacrifice, raising him alone after his father's death. The long nights she'd worked as a nurse to put him through school. The pride in her eyes when his tech company made its first million. The joy on her face when she held her grandchildren for the first time. His body moved on instinct. He dove across the room, his hand outstretched, reaching for the falling match. His fingers closed around it just inches from the bed, the small flame burning his palm. The pain was immediate and searing, but he didn't let go until he'd crushed it completely. But when he looked up, Amara was already pulling another match from the box. "You always were too predictable, my love," she said, her voice dripping with venom. "Always the hero, always trying to save everyone. But you can't save her this time. And you know why? Because I'm not alone in this." The bedroom door opened behind Kwame, and his blood ran cold at the sound of footsteps, multiple footsteps. He turned slowly, still crouched beside his mother's bed, and saw 3 figures enter the room. His heart shattered into a million pieces. His younger brother, Chika, stood in the doorway, holding a gun. "Hello, brother," Cheek said with a smile that Kwame had never seen before. "We need to talk about the family business." Behind Cheek stood 2 more people Kwame recognized. His company's chief financial officer, Jerome, and his own personal assistant of 5 years, Thandiwe. They all wore the same expression, cold, determined, united. "Surprise," Amara said, striking another match. "Did you really think I could plan something this big alone?" Your brother's been waiting years for his chance. Jerome's tired of watching you make millions while he gets a salary. And Thandiwe? Well, let's just say she has her own reasons for wanting you gone. Kwame looked at each face, searching for some sign of the people he'd trusted, the family he'd loved. But they were strangers now, every single one of them. The way I see it, Amara continued, moving the lit match closer to the bed, you have two choices. You can watch your mother burn and join her in trying to put out the flames, probably dying in the process, or you can sign the papers Jerome brought, transferring your shares to me immediately, and we can all walk away from this. You're insane, Kwame breathed. All of you, you'll never get away with this. Won't we? Cheek stepped forward, the gun steady in his hand. House fires happen all the time. Tragic accidents. The grief-stricken billionaire, trying to save his mother, overcome by smoke. His heartbroken wife, inheriting everything. It's actually quite simple. Mama Adana's muffled screams grew louder. She was staring at her younger son, the baby boy she'd raised, the child she'd sacrificed everything for, and Kwame could see her heart breaking behind those terrified eyes. How long? Kwame asked, his voice barely audible. How long have you all been planning this? Does it matter? Amara asked. But then she smiled, that cruel stranger's smile again. But if you must know, it's been 2 years. 2 long years of careful planning, of waiting for the perfect moment, of learning your patterns, your security codes, your weaknesses. She paused, tilting her head. Did you know your mother takes sleeping pills every night at 9? Very strong ones. Jerome's wife is a pharmacist. It's amazing what a little extra sedative can do. That's why she couldn't fight back when I tied her up an hour ago. The match in Amara's hand was burning lower, getting closer to her fingers. 10 seconds, Kwame, she said. Sign the papers or she burns. 10, 9, 8. What would you do if you were in Kwame's position? Comment below, and don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who loves intense drama. Hit that subscribe button because my mom says I can't reach 1,000 subscribers. Please, let's prove her wrong together. Turn on notifications because next is going to blow your mind. What decision do you think Kwame makes? Drop your predictions in the comments right now. 7, 6, 5. Kwame's mind raced through impossible calculations. The gun in his brother's hand, the distance to Amara, the kerosene-soaked bed, his mother's terrified eyes. Every option ended in tragedy. Wait, Kwame raised both hands. I'll sign. Just let me untie my mother first. Let her leave the room. Amara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Do you think I'm stupid? Your mother stays exactly where she is. She's our insurance policy. You sign first, we verify the transfer with our lawyer, and then maybe we let her go. Maybe, Kwame's voice cracked. 4, 3. Okay, I'll sign right now. Just put out the match. Amara smiled and blew out the flame. The smoke curled upward in the tense silence. Jerome stepped forward with a briefcase, placing it on the dresser and pulling out several documents. Kwame noticed his CFO's hands were shaking slightly. At least one of them still had some conscience left. These are the transfer papers, Jerome said, not meeting Kwame's eyes. Sign here, here, and here. Initial the bottom of each page. Kwame moved slowly toward the dresser, his burned hand throbbing. He picked up the pen, his mind working frantically. There had to be a way out. There had to be. You know what's funny? Kwame said, stalling for time as he pretended to read the documents. I actually came home early to surprise Amara. It's our 10th anniversary tomorrow. I had a whole celebration plan. I bought you that diamond necklace you've been wanting, the one from Cartier. $50,000. How touching, Amara said flatly. Sign faster. I'm reading what I'm signing. Unless you want this to be invalid. Kwame looked up at Jerome. These need to be signed voluntarily, right? No coercion? Otherwise, they're worthless in court. Jerome shifted uncomfortably. Just sign them, boss, please. Boss? Kwame let out a bitter laugh. You're holding me at gunpoint and you're still calling me boss? He turned to his brother. And you, Chike, do you remember when you were 16 and got arrested for that car accident? Who bailed you out? Who paid off the other family so you wouldn't go to jail? Cheek's jaw tightened, but the gun didn't waver. You've held that over my head for 15 years. Everything you've ever done for me came with strings attached. The fancy education, the job at your company, the house you bought me. All of it was just to control me, to keep me in your shadow. That's not true, isn't it? Cheek's voice rose. You're the golden son, the genius, the billionaire. And what am I? Your little brother who works in middle management at a company that should be half mine. Dad left it to both of us, but you bought out my shares when I was too young and stupid to know better. You sold them to me, Kwame shot back. You said you wanted the cash to start your own business. I was 22. You took advantage of me. Enough. Amara struck another match. This isn't therapy. Sign the papers now, or I drop this match and we all find out how fast kerosene burns. Kwame looked at his mother. Mama Adana had stopped struggling. Her eyes met his, and even through the tape, even through the terror, he saw something in them. A message. She gave a slight nod, then deliberately looked toward the bedroom's smoke detector on the ceiling. Kwame understood. The smoke detector. It was connected to the mansion's advanced fire suppression system. If a fire started, the entire room would be flooded with suppressant foam within seconds. But the kerosene was already soaked into the bed. The initial flames could still cause serious burns before the system activated. It was a terrible risk, but it was the only chance they had. Kwame bent over the papers and signed his name with deliberate slowness on the first page, then the second. As he reached for the third document, he spoke again. Thandiwe, he said to his assistant, who'd been silent this whole time. You have 3 kids, right? I met them at the company Christmas party. Beautiful children. What are you going to tell them about how mommy got rich? Thandiwe flinched. Don't talk about my children. Why are you even part of this? Kwame pressed. I paid for your daughter's surgery last year. $20,000 out of my own pocket. Not the company's. And you never let me forget it. Thandiwe's composure cracked. Every day it was, how's your daughter doing, Thandiwe? Is she recovering well, Thandiwe? Like I owed you my soul because you helped us when we were desperate. I was being caring. You were being condescending, like you were some benevolent God blessing us poor people with your generosity. Tears streamed down Thandiwe's face. Do you know what it's like, being grateful to someone every single day? Having to smile and bow and scrape because they own you? Kwame felt like he was falling through darkness. Was this really how they all saw him? Was he truly the villain in their stories? Last page, Jerome urged. Sign it, and this is over. Kwame positioned the pen on the final signature line. His hand was shaking. Once he signed this, his mother would still be in danger. They had no reason to keep their word. In fact, they had every reason to eliminate both witnesses. Before I sign, Kwame said slowly, I need to know one thing. Amara, did you ever love me? Was any of it real? Amara's expression softened for just a moment, and Kwame saw a flicker of the woman he'd married. The first year was real, she said quietly. I did love you then. You were kind and ambitious and different from everyone I'd known. But then the money came, and you changed. Or maybe I changed. Maybe I realized that love doesn't pay bills or buy respect or give you power. What about our children? Kwame's voice broke. Zara and Malik. They're 7 and 5 years old. What happens to them after you murder their father and grandmother? They'll inherit everything eventually, Amara said coldly. They'll be raised by a strong mother who taught them that, in this world, you take what you want or you get nothing. They'll hate you when they learn the truth. They'll never learn the truth. As far as anyone will know, tonight was a tragic accident. Kwame took a deep breath. It was now or never. He pressed the pen to the paper, but instead of signing, he suddenly swept the briefcase off the dresser, sending papers flying everywhere. In the same motion, he grabbed the heavy crystal lamp from the dresser and hurled it at the smoke detector on the ceiling. The lamp shattered the detector with a loud crash. Immediately, alarm bells began shrieking throughout the mansion. What did you do? Amara screamed. Kwame dove toward his mother's bed, but Chike fired the gun. The bullet missed Kwame by inches, embedding itself in the wall. The gunshot sound was deafening in the enclosed room. Don't shoot him, you idiot, Jerome yelled. We need it to look like an accident. In the chaos, Amara dropped her match. The flame hit the kerosene-soaked bed, and fire erupted instantly, spreading faster than Kwame had imagined possible. The flames were hungry, consuming the expensive sheets in seconds. Kwame threw himself across his mother's body, his hands working frantically at the ropes binding her wrists. The heat was intense, singeing his hair. He could hear Amara screaming, Jerome shouting, footsteps running. But then something unexpected happened. The mansion's sprinkler system activated, but not the foam suppressant, just water. Powerful jets of water that did nothing to a kerosene fire. In fact, the water seemed to spread the burning fuel, making things worse. The system, Kwame realized with horror. Someone tampered with the fire suppression system? Through the smoke and flames, he saw Jerome's guilty expression and understood. They'd planned for this contingency too. They'd disabled the foam system and left only the sprinklers, which would be useless against an accelerant fire. The flames were surrounding them now. Kwame finally freed his mother's wrists and ripped the tape from her mouth. Kwame, Mama Adana gasped, coughing from the smoke. The window! But the bedroom was on the second floor. A jump could break bones or worse. Still, it was better than burning alive. Kwame pulled his mother toward the window, but the flames had created a wall between them and escape. He heard sirens in the distance. Someone must have called the fire department when the alarm went off, but they wouldn't arrive in time. Over here, a voice suddenly called out. Through the smoke, Kwame saw a figure in the doorway. For a wild moment, he thought it was one of his betrayers coming back to save them. But as the figure moved closer, Kwame's jaw dropped. It was his head of security, Kofi, wearing a fire-resistant suit and carrying breathing masks. Put these on, now! How did you? Kwame began. Questions later, boss. Move! Kofi handed them masks and began leading them toward the door. But the flames were too intense now. The fire had spread to the hallway. They were trapped. The bathroom, Mama Adana wheezed. The bathroom window faces the back garden. Lower drop. They stumbled into the adjoining bathroom. Kofi kicked out the window with his heavy boot. Below them was indeed a shorter drop, maybe 12 feet, and there was a swimming pool directly beneath. Jump, Kofi commanded. Mama Adana went first, and Kwame's heart stopped as he watched his elderly mother fall. She hit the water with a splash and surfaced, gasping but alive. Your turn, boss. What about you? Kwame asked. I'm wearing protection. Go. Kwame climbed onto the windowsill, looked back at the burning room one last time, and jumped. The fall seemed to last forever. He hit the water hard, the impact knocking the breath from his lungs. When he surfaced, he saw Kofi jump behind him. They dragged themselves out of the pool, coughing and shaking. Half the mansion was now engulfed in flames, lighting up the night sky. Kwame held his mother close, both of them soaking wet and trembling. Where are they? Kwame asked Kofi. Where did they go? Kofi's face was grim. They ran when the fire got out of control. But boss, there's something you need to know. Something I discovered this evening, right before all this started. It's why I came back to the house in my fire gear. What is it? Your wife, she's not working alone. This conspiracy goes way higher than you think. Kofi pulled out his phone, showing Kwame a photograph that made his blood run cold. I found this in Thandiwi's desk when I was doing my security sweep. The photograph showed Amara and Shiki with two other people. One was a woman Kwame didn't recognize. The other was a man he knew very well. Too well. It was Nigeria's police commissioner, Chief Adebayo Okafor, one of Kwame's supposed closest friends and the godfather of his son. No, Kwame whispered, not Chief Okafor. He's been like family. Look at the date stamp, Kofi said. This photo was taken 6 months ago. And boss, there's more. I found transfer records. Your wife has been funneling money to offshore accounts. We're not talking thousands. We're talking $40 million. Money taken from company accounts using your access codes. The mansion groaned behind them, part of the roof collapsing in a shower of sparks. Fire trucks were pulling up to the gate, but Kwame barely noticed. His entire world was collapsing faster than the burning building. If the police commissioner is involved, Mama Adana said weakly, then we can't go to the police. They'll cover this up. They'll make it look like you started the fire. They'll say you were trying to kill your mother for the inheritance. Kofi added. With the commissioner's influence, they can manipulate the evidence, control the narrative. By morning, you'll be wanted for attempted murder. Kwame looked at the flames consuming his home, then at his mother's soot-covered face, then at the phone in Kofi's hand showing the photograph of betrayal. Then we run, he said quietly. We disappear until I can figure out who I can trust and how deep this goes. Where will we go? Mama Adana asked. Before Kwame could answer, his own phone, miraculously still in his pocket and waterproof, began to ring. He looked at the screen and his heart nearly stopped. The caller ID showed his daughter's name, Zara, his 7-year-old daughter, who was supposed to be at a sleepover at her friend's house. He answered with shaking hands. Zara, baby, are you okay? But it wasn't his daughter's voice that came through the phone. It was Amara's, cold and triumphant. Hello, husband. I see you survived. How disappointing, but that's okay. I have something you want. Actually, I have 2 somethings. Your children send their love. They're right here with me. Kwame heard Zara crying in the background. Daddy, Daddy, help us. Amara, don't you dare hurt them. They're your children too. They're my insurance policy now, Amara replied. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign those transfer papers, all of them. You're going to liquidate your accounts and transfer every dollar to the account numbers I'm about to text you. And you're going to disappear. Leave Nigeria. Leave Africa. If you cooperate, I'll let the children live. If you don't, well, accidents happen to children too. The line went dead. Kwame stood there dripping wet, watching his home burn, holding a phone that had just delivered a threat against his children's lives. Everything he'd built, everyone he'd trusted, it was all ashes now. What do we do? Kofi asked quietly. Kwame looked at his mother, at his loyal guard, at the burning mansion, at the phone in his hand. Slowly his expression changed. The shock and fear began to harden into something else, something cold and calculating. We do what they don't expect, Kwame said, his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. We go to war. Against the police commissioner? Mama Adana asked. Against your own wife and brother. Kwame, they have your children. I know, Mama, but they made one critical mistake. Kwame pulled up his phone and began typing rapidly. They think I'm just a businessman. They think I built this empire by playing nice and being soft. They forgot where I came from. They forgot what I had to do to survive before the money came. He looked up and his eyes were hard as diamonds. Amara wants 30% of the company? She can have it. Right after I burn down everything else so there's nothing left to steal. Boss, Kofi said urgently, I think you should know something else. The woman in that photograph with your wife and the commissioner? I ran her face through recognition software. Her name is Diana Okafor. She's the commissioner's daughter. And according to my sources, she's been dating your brother Chiki for the past 18 months. The pieces clicked into place in Kwame's mind like a horrifying puzzle. This wasn't just about his wife wanting money. This was a coordinated attack, a carefully planned conspiracy between multiple families and power players. They hadn't just wanted his wealth. They'd wanted to destroy him completely. How many men do you have that you trust absolutely? Kwame asked Kofi. 5, maybe 6, ex-military, loyal to the death. Call them. Tell them to meet us at the backup location, the one nobody knows about. Kwame turned to his mother. Mama, I need you to do something very hard. I need you to trust me even when what I'm about to do seems crazy. What are you planning, my son? Kwame's smile was cold and dangerous. I'm going to give Amara exactly what she wants. I'm going to sign over everything, transfer every dollar, disappear completely. But the children will be saved because while they're busy celebrating their victory and counting their money, I'll be implementing a plan they never saw coming, a plan I've had in place for 3 years, ever since my business rival tried to take me down, and I learned that in this world, you need a doomsday protocol. Fire truck sirens wailed louder as emergency vehicles finally breached the gate. Kwame pulled his mother and Kofi toward the back garden, into the shadows. What's the protocol called? Kofi asked as they moved quickly through the darkness. Kwame looked back one last time at his burning home, at the life he'd built that was now destroyed. When he turned forward again, his face was set with determination. It's called scorched earth, he said, and by the time I'm done, everyone who betrayed me will wish they'd never learned my name. The safe house was a modest apartment in Sur-Alaire, one of Lagos's middle-class neighborhoods where a billionaire would never think to hide. Kwame had purchased it 4 years ago under a false name, part of his contingency planning that now seemed prophetic. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd prepared for corporate espionage and hostile takeovers, never imagining the threat would come from his own bed. Kofi's men arrived within the hour. 6 hardened faces, former Nigerian special forces, men who'd served with Kofi in the military before transitioning to private security. They stood in the small living room, waiting for orders, while Mama Adana rested in the bedroom, finally allowed to process the trauma of nearly being burned alive by her own daughter-in-law. "Gentlemen," Kwame began, pacing the cramped space, "tonight you witnessed my home burn. What you don't know is that my wife orchestrated it. She's holding my children hostage and demanding I transfer my entire fortune to her. The conspiracy includes my brother, my CFO, my personal assistant, and the Lagos police commissioner." The men exchanged glances but remained silent, professional. "I need to know right now if any of you have divided loyalties," Kwame continued, "because what I'm about to do will make enemies of very powerful people. If you want out, leave now. No judgment. But if you stay, you're in until the end." No one moved. Kofi stepped forward. "Boss, we've been watching your back for years. We've seen how you treat people, how you paid for Amika's mother's cancer treatment, how you gave Olumide's sister a job when she was homeless. You're not perfect, but you're a good man. These people betrayed you. We're staying." Kwame felt emotion tighten his throat, but he pushed it down. There would be time for feelings later. Right now, he needed to be sharp. "Okay, here's the situation." He pulled out his laptop, which he'd grabbed from his car after the fire. "My company, Okonkwo Industries, is worth approximately $800 million. My personal accounts hold another $200 million in liquid assets. Real estate, investments, everything combined puts my net worth at $1.3 billion. He brought up a series of files on the screen. "But here's what they don't know. 3 years ago, after a rival company tried to destroy me through corporate sabotage, I created what I call the Scorched Earth Protocol. It's a series of fail-safes, hidden accounts, and legal tripwires designed to protect my assets in case of an existential threat." "What kind of fail-safes?" asked Amika, a stocky man with a scar across his jaw. "The company's structure is more complex than it appears. Yes, I own 30% directly. My mother owns 40%. The remaining 30% is divided among various shareholders. But what nobody knows, not even my mother until now, is that I control another 22% through shell corporations and proxy holders. People I trust who hold shares in their names, but vote according to my instructions." Kofi whistled low. "So you actually control 52%. "Exactly, which means I have majority control. But I've kept this hidden to avoid attention from regulators and competitors." Kwame pulled up another file. "Additionally, I have $300 million in cryptocurrency wallets that are completely untraceable. Money that exists outside the traditional banking system. Money that Amara doesn't know about because I set it up before we even met." "So you can still survive financially," Olumide said. "But what about your children?" Kwame's jaw tightened. "That's where things get complicated. Amara thinks she holds all the cards because she has Zara and Malik, but she's made assumptions about what I will and won't do." He looked at each man. "I need you to understand something. I love my children more than my own life. But if I simply pay the ransom and disappear, Amara will kill them anyway. They're witnesses. They know too much. She can't let them live." The room fell silent as the dark truth settled over them. "So what's the play?" Kofi asked quietly. "We make her think she's won," Kwame said. "Tomorrow morning I'm going to call Amara and agree to all her terms. I'll sign the transfer papers, move the money she knows about to her accounts, and I'll record a video confession saying I started the fire trying to kill my mother for her inheritance. The video will be my insurance. She keeps the kids alive. I don't release it." "You're going to confess to something you didn't do?" Mama Adana stood in the bedroom doorway, wrapped in a blanket. "Kwame, that will destroy your reputation." "Mama, my reputation is already destroyed. By now, the news is reporting that my mansion burned down. The commissioner will spin it however benefits them most. Probably that I'm a suspect in an arson attempt. My character assassination has already begun. He turned to his mother. But here's the thing about having a scorched earth protocol. It works both ways. If I'm going down, everyone goes down. He pulled up another screen showing bank records. While Amara was busy planning my murder, I was quietly investigating some irregularities I'd noticed in company accounts. Turns out Jerome, my trusted CFO, has been embezzling for years. Small amounts at first, then larger. I have documentation of every fraudulent transaction. I also have evidence that he's been manipulating stock prices through illegal insider trading. Why didn't you report him? Emika asked. Because I was waiting to see how deep it went. I wanted to know if he was working alone or if there were others. Now I know he was working with my wife, my brother, and the police commissioner. They've all been stealing from me. Kwame's smile was bitter. Jerome moved $40 million to offshore accounts in Amara's name, but what he doesn't know is that I can trace every transaction. I have access to everything. And the commissioner? Kofi prompted. Chief Adebayo Okafor, respected police commissioner, pillar of the community. Kwame pulled up a folder filled with photographs and documents, also deeply corrupt. I've been collecting evidence for years, bribes, extortion, evidence tampering. I kept it as insurance, never thinking I'd need it. But his involvement with Amara changes everything. He's using his position to protect this conspiracy, which means he's vulnerable. Kwame stood up, energized now by the forming plan. Here's how this plays out. Phase 1, I surrender. Give Amara everything she wants, make the confession video. She'll think she's won, which means she'll let her guard down. Phase 2, once my children are safe and we will get them to safety, I release everything. Every piece of evidence against Jerome, against the commissioner, against all of them. I burn it all down. They'll arrest you, Mama Adana protested. The confession video will be revealed as coerced. I'll have evidence that my children were being held hostage. The public will understand. Kwame looked at his mother. But Mama, I need to prepare you for something. When this goes public, it's going to be ugly. The media will devour this story. Billionaire's wife tries to murder his mother for inheritance money. Brother involved in conspiracy. Police corruption exposed. It'll be everywhere. I can handle ugly, my son. I survived poverty, single motherhood, and tonight I survived attempted murder. I can survive scandal. Mama Adana's voice was steel. What I can't survive is losing my grandchildren. Do whatever you need to do. There's one more thing, Kwame said quietly. My brother Cheeky. He's been dating the commissioner's daughter, Diana. I think she's been manipulating him, feeding his resentment, pushing him toward this betrayal. But Cheek is still my brother. Part of me wants to destroy him. Part of me wants to save him. Which part is winning? Kofi asked. Kwame was quiet for a long moment. I don't know yet, but I think before this is over, I'll have to make a choice about mercy, about whether people can be redeemed or if betrayal is unforgivable. His phone buzzed, a text message from an unknown number. Kwame opened it and his blood ran cold. The message contained a photo of his children, Zara and Malik, sitting on a couch in an unfamiliar room. Both were wearing their pajamas, faces tear-streaked. Zara was holding a newspaper with today's date, proof of life. Below the photo was a message. You have 24 hours to transfer the money and deliver the signed papers. Instructions will follow. Any police involvement and the children disappear permanently. We're watching everything. They're monitoring my communications, Kwame realized, which means they probably have access to my phone, my email, everything. Not everything, Kofi said with a slight smile. He pulled out a different phone, a basic model. Burner phone, untraceable. I bought 6 of them on my way here. We can communicate securely. Kwame felt a surge of gratitude for his security chief's foresight. Good. We'll need to coordinate carefully. Kofi, I need you to do something for me. Something that will seem crazy. Name it. I need you to reach out to someone. A man named Marcus Chen. He's a private investigator based in Port Harcourt. We had a business deal 5 years ago that went south. He blamed me for his company's bankruptcy, even though I was actually trying to help him. He hates me. Publicly threatens me on social media. Calls me corrupt. evil, all of it. And you want to contact him because he's one of the few people who won't be suspected of working with me. If Amara's monitoring my known associates, Marcus won't be on that list. He's my enemy, which makes him the perfect ally. Kwame pulled up information on his laptop. Marcus is brilliant, paranoid, and he has connections to underground networks that can move people and money invisibly. If anyone can help us extract my children without tipping off the conspiracy, it's him. You think he'll help you? Emeka asked skeptically. If he hates you? I'm betting on it, because Marcus doesn't actually hate me. He hates what he thinks I represent. Corrupt billionaires who destroy little people for profit. But if I explain what's really happening, if I show him evidence that I'm the victim here, that my children are in danger, Kwame paused. Marcus has kids too. He'll help. I know he will. That's a big gamble, boss, Kofi said. Everything about this is a gamble. Kwame looked around at the men who'd chosen to stand with him. But I didn't build a billion-dollar company by playing it safe. I built it by calculating risks and taking the ones that mattered most. My children matter more than anything. His phone buzzed again. This time a call from Amara. Kwame let it ring twice before answering, putting it on speaker so everyone could hear. Hello, Amara? Kwame! Oh, thank God you're alive. Her voice was perfectly pitched, concerned, loving, and the devoted wife. I just heard about the fire. Are you okay? Where are you? Where's your mother? Kwame's jaw clenched at the performance. Cut the act. I got your photo. I know you have our children. There was a pause, then Amara's voice changed, dropped the pretense. Good. Then we understand each other. Did you get my message about the 24 hours? I did. I need more time to liquidate everything. Some accounts have restrictions. You have 24 hours, Amara interrupted coldly. You're a billionaire, Kwame. You have emergency access to everything. Make it happen or Zara and Malik pay the price. And just so we're clear, there was a rustling sound. Then Kwame heard his daughter's voice. Daddy! Zara's voice was small, terrified. Daddy, I'm scared. Mommy says we can't come home until you give her something. What does she want? Why is she being mean? Kwame closed his eyes, fighting to keep his voice steady. Baby, listen to me. You're going to be okay. Daddy's going to fix this. I need you to be brave for just a little while longer. Can you do that for me? I want to come home, Zara whimpered. Malik keeps crying and Mommy won't let me hug him. Soon, baby, very soon. I love you so much. The phone was pulled away. Amara's voice returned. 24 hours, Kwame. The clock is ticking. Oh, and one more thing. Don't even think about trying to find us. We're somewhere you'll never look. And if I even suspect you're trying to track this call or involve anyone, the threat hung in the air. Just get us the money. The call ended. Kwame stood there, phone in hand, his whole body shaking with rage and fear and helplessness. Around him, the men shifted uncomfortably, witnessing their boss's private anguish. We'll get them back, Kofi said firmly. I swear to you, we'll get them back. Kwame nodded slowly, then straightened his shoulders. Kofi, make contact with Marcus Chen. Use one of the burner phones. Tell him I know I'm probably the last person he wants to help, but my children's lives are at stake. Tell him I'll give him everything. Full access to my files, evidence of real corruption, everything he's been accusing me of or worse. Tell him this is his chance to actually take down corrupt people instead of just tweeting about it. And if he says no, then we go to plan B. Kwame's expression hardened. We break into the commissioner's house, take his daughter Diana hostage, and trade her for my children. Boss, that's... Emeka started. Insane? Illegal. Probably going to get us killed. Kwame finished. Yes, but if Marcus won't help, we're out of options. These people think I'm soft because I built my empire with technology instead of violence. They're about to learn they made a fatal miscalculation. Mama Dana approached her son, placing a weathered hand on his cheek. Kwame, I raised you to be better than the people who hurt us. Don't let them turn you into something you're not. Mama, they have my babies. I know, but if you cross certain lines to get them back, you'll save their lives but lose your soul. And then what kind of father will they have? Kwame pulled his mother into a tight embrace. I'll do whatever I have to do, Mama, but I'll try to do it the right way first. I promise. As they stood there, father and son united in desperation and determination, Neither of them noticed Kofi step into the hallway and make a phone call on one of the burner phones. Mr. Chen, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm calling on behalf of Kwame Okonkwo. No, please don't hang up. His children have been kidnapped. His wife tried to murder his mother. There's a conspiracy involving the police commissioner. I know you think Kwame is corrupt, but yes, I understand your history with him. But sir, 2 innocent children are going to die if we don't. Hello? Mr. Chen? The line had gone dead. Kofi lowered the phone, his expression grim. Marcus Chen had hung up. Plan A had failed before it even began, which meant they were headed toward Plan B, the dangerous, possibly suicidal option of taking on the police commissioner directly. He walked back into the living room where Kwame stood with his mother, both of them looking small and vulnerable despite their strength. Boss, Kofi began, I need to tell you something. But before he could finish, all of their phones, the regular ones, buzzed simultaneously with a news alert. Kwame looked at his screen and felt the ground shift beneath him. The headline read, Billionaire Kwame Okonkwo wanted for questioning in mansion fire. Mother missing, feared dead. Wife and children also missing. Foul play suspected. Below it was his photo, a professional headshot from a recent magazine cover, next to a photo of the burned mansion, flames still visible against the night sky. The article, published by every major Nigerian news outlet simultaneously, reported that police were seeking Kwame Okonkwo for questioning regarding a suspicious fire at his estate. His mother's body had not been recovered, leading investigators to suspect he may have moved her before or after starting the fire. His wife and children were also missing, possibly fleeing from him or, the article darkly suggested, already victims of foul play. Police Commissioner Adebayo Okafor was quoted extensively, calling it a tragedy, saying he'd known Kwame for years and never suspected such darkness in his friend, urging Kwame to turn himself in before anyone else got hurt. They've controlled the narrative, Kwame said numbly. Within hours, they've made me the villain. By morning, the whole country will think I'm a murderer. Boss, Kofi tried again. About Marcus Chen. It doesn't matter now, Kwame interrupted. We're past the point of allies or plans. We're fugitives now, wanted by the law, hunted by corrupt police, cut off from our resources. He looked at his mother, at his loyal men, at the cramped, safe house that had become their prison. They've won the first battle. They've taken my reputation, my freedom, and my children. He pulled up his laptop one more time, fingers flying across the keyboard. But they haven't won the war. Not yet, because I still have one card left to play. One person who might be able to help us, though it will cost me everything to ask. Who? Mama Adana asked. Kwame pulled up an encrypted email account he hadn't accessed in years. He began typing a message, his fingers hesitant over the keys. Her name is Jasmine Nkosi, he said quietly. She's an investigative journalist based in South Africa. 5 years ago, she came to me with evidence of government corruption. She wanted me to help her expose it, to use my platform and resources to bring down powerful people. I refused. I told her I was a businessman, not an activist. That I couldn't risk my company or my family on her crusade. And now you're asking for her help? Kofi said. Now I'm admitting she was right. That staying neutral, protecting my wealth and comfort, while corruption thrived around me, was cowardice. Kwame finished typing and hovered over the send button. She's investigated the police commissioner before. She has sources, safe houses, ways to move people secretly. She's my only hope. Will she help you after you turned her down? Mama Adana asked. I don't know, but I'm about to find out. Kwame hit send. The email was simple. Jasmine, you were right about everything. I should have helped you 5 years ago. Now corruption has destroyed my life and taken my children. I'm ready to fight, but I can't do it alone. If you're still interested in taking down Commissioner Okafor, I have everything you need. Please. Kwame. He closed the laptop and looked at the men around him. We wait for her response. If she agrees to help, we have a chance. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. They waited in silence, minutes stretching into an hour. Kwame kept checking his encrypted email, refreshing obsessively, but there was nothing. Then at 2:47 a.m., a response arrived. Kwame opened it with shaking hands. The message contained only an address in Lagos and a time, 6 a.m., and below it, a single sentence. Come alone or don't come at all. Comment your thoughts on this betrayal. Have you ever been backstabbed by someone close to you? Share this video with someone who loves intense family drama. And if you haven't already, smash that like button and subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. My mom thinks I can't do it, so let's prove her wrong together. Turn on notifications so you don't miss next, where everything changes. What do you think Jasmine wants? Drop your predictions below. The address Jasmine sent led to an abandoned warehouse in Apapa, Lagos's industrial district. Kwame arrived alone as instructed, leaving his mother and the security team at the safe house. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting long shadows across the rusted shipping containers and crumbling concrete. He stepped through the warehouse's broken door, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The air smelled of oil and decay. You came! Jasmine Nkosi emerged from behind a stack of crates. She looked exactly as he remembered, tall, sharp-eyed, her hair in thick locks, wearing practical cargo pants and a leather jacket. But there was something harder about her now, something forged by 5 years of fighting battles alone. I didn't think you would help me, Kwame admitted. I'm not sure I am helping you, Jasmine replied coolly. I'm helping those children. Innocent kids don't deserve to pay for their father's cowardice. The words stung, but Kwame accepted them. You're right. About everything. I should have stood with you 5 years ago. Yes, you should have. Jasmine walked closer, studying him. But feeling sorry for yourself won't save your children. So let's talk about what you're willing to do now. Anything. Anything is a dangerous word, Kwame. She pulled out a tablet showing him surveillance footage. I've been tracking Commissioner Okafor for years. I know about his offshore accounts, his connections to drug cartels, his involvement in political assassinations, but I've never had enough proof to publish without getting killed. You say you have evidence? Kwame pulled out a flash drive. Everything. Bank records, recorded conversations, documents showing bribes and extortion. I've been collecting it as insurance, never thinking I'd use it. Jasmine took the drive and plugged it into her tablet. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. This is enough to bring down half the government. Why didn't you release this before? Because I was comfortable, Kwame said bitterly. Because exposing corruption meant making enemies, and I just wanted to build my company and provide for my family. I told myself I was being smart, strategic. Really, bruh, I was just being selfish. At least you can admit it now. Jasmine continued reviewing the files. Okay, here's what I know about your situation. Your wife Amara is holding your children at a compound owned by Commissioner Okafor's cousin, about 40 kilometers outside Lagos. It's heavily guarded. 6 armed men, security cameras, the works. How do you know this? Because I've been following your wife for 3 months. Jasmine pulled up another photo, this one showing Amara meeting with Commissioner Okafor and his daughter Diana. I was investigating Okafor's corruption when I noticed him meeting regularly with your wife. I thought maybe she was involved in his schemes, possibly one of his mistresses. I started documenting everything, not knowing it would lead to this. Kwame stared at the photos, feeling sick. 3 months. The conspiracy had been visible to an outsider while he'd been completely blind to it. The children are alive and appear unharmed, Jasmine continued. But you're right that Amara won't let them go even if you pay. She can't. They know too much. And more importantly, you know too much. The original plan was probably to kill you and your mother in the fire, make it look like an accident, and console the grieving children while inheriting everything. So how do we get them out? That's complicated. Jasmine pulled up a blueprint of the compound. Direct assault won't work. They'll kill the kids at the first sign of trouble. Police raid is impossible since Okafor controls the police. We need leverage. Something that makes keeping your children alive more valuable than killing them. Kwame thought for a moment, his mind working through scenarios. Then it hit him. The offshore accounts. If I transfer Amara's stolen $40 million to an account she can't access without me, she'll need to keep me and the kids alive to get the code. That could work, Jasmine said slowly, but it only delays the problem. Eventually, she'll get the money and then Then we execute phase two, Kwame interrupted. We release everything, every piece of evidence against Okafor, against everyone involved. We blow this conspiracy wide open so publicly that they can't make us disappear without proving our accusations true. That will destroy your reputation too. The confession video Amara has can be explained as coerced testimony given under threat to my children's lives. Yes, it'll be messy. Yes, some people will always believe I was guilty. But the truth will be out there, and more importantly, my children will be alive. Jasmine studied him carefully. You've changed. The Kwame I met 5 years ago would never sacrifice his reputation like this. The Kwame from 5 years ago hadn't watched his wife try to burn his mother alive. He met her eyes. I'm done protecting my comfort. I'm ready to fight. Good. Jasmine pulled out a burner phone. Because I have a contact inside Okafor's network. Someone who's been feeding me information. Someone who's disgusted by what's happening. They can help us, but we need to move fast. Amara's deadline is in, she checked her watch, 17 hours. Who's your contact? Someone you know. Someone close to this whole mess. Jasmine made a call, spoke quietly for a moment, then handed Kwame the phone. He wants to talk to you. Kwame took the phone hesitantly. Hello? Hello, brother. Kwame's blood turned to ice. It was Chiki's voice. Before you hang up, Chiki said quickly, I need you to listen. I made a terrible mistake. Diana, the commissioner's daughter, she manipulated me. She made me think you were stealing from the family, that you were planning to cut me out completely. She showed me forged documents, fake emails, convinced me you were the villain. I believed her because I wanted to believe it, because it was easier than admitting I was jealous of you. You tried to kill our mother, Kwame said, his voice shaking with rage. I know, and I'll never forgive myself. But Kwame, I didn't know they were actually going to go through with it. Diana told me we were just going to scare Mama, force her to give up her shares. When I saw Amara with that match, when I realized they were really going to burn her alive, Cheek's voice broke. I tried to stop them. That's why I fired the gun. I was aiming at Amara, not you. I missed because Jerome grabbed my arm. Why should I believe anything you say? Because I'm the one who called Jasmine 3 months ago and told her to investigate Amara. Because I'm the one who's been feeding her information about Okafor's plans. Because right now, I'm at the compound where your children are being held, and I can help you get them out. Kwame looked at Jasmine, who nodded confirmation. He's telling the truth. He's been my source inside the conspiracy. He's been trying to sabotage it from within. Then why didn't you stop it before it got this far? Kwame demanded into the phone. Because I was a coward, Chiki admitted. Because I was in too deep and didn't know how to get out. Because every time I thought about coming to you, I remembered 15 years of resentment and pride stopped me. But Kwame, those kids, Zara and Malik, they call me Uncle Chiki. They love me. I can't let anything happen to them. Please let me help fix this. Kwame closed his eyes, wrestling with betrayal and desperation and the faint possibility of redemption. What's the situation at the compound right now? Amara's getting nervous. She knows you're not responding the way she expected. She thought you'd pay immediately, but you've been silent for hours. She's talking about moving the kids to another location tonight, somewhere even more secure. If we're going to make a move, it has to be today. How many guards? 6 outside, plus Jerome is here, and Diana. Amara has a gun. The commissioner isn't here. He's maintaining his public image, staying separate from the operation so he can claim innocence if anything goes wrong. What about the children? Are they hurt? They're scared, but physically okay. Amara's keeping them in a bedroom upstairs. She's not being cruel to them exactly. She's just cold, distant, like they're assets instead of her children. It's horrible to watch. Kwame made a decision. He'd probably regret it, but he had no choice. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Jasmine, you're going to coordinate with Chiki. I need detailed layout of the compound, guard positions, everything. Then we're going in. We? Jasmine raised an eyebrow. You're a businessman, not a soldier. Those are my children. I'm not sitting in a safe house while others risk their lives for them. Kwame's voice was steel. Kofi and his men are trained for exactly this kind of operation. We go in fast, extract the kids, and get out before Okafor can respond. And what about the evidence? Jasmine asked. When do we release it? The moment my children are safe, you publish everything. Every document, every recording, every piece of corruption we have on Okafor and his network. We hit them so hard and so publicly that they can't retaliate without confirming their guilt. Over the phone, Cheeky spoke up. Kwame, there's something else you need to know. The commissioner has a backup plan. If this goes wrong, if the conspiracy gets exposed, he has evidence planted that will frame you for money laundering and fraud. Even if you prove your innocence regarding the fire and kidnapping, he can still destroy you financially and legally. You could end up in prison for crimes you didn't commit. Then we make sure it doesn't go wrong, Kwame said simply. Cheek, can you disable the compound security cameras at a specific time? Yes, I have access to the security system. Good. We go in at sunset, 7 p.m. That gives us time to prepare and hits them when visibility is poor. Cheek, you disable cameras and create a distraction. Draw the guards to the south side of the compound. We come in from the north, get to the children, and extract them before anyone realizes what's happening. That's a lot of things that need to go right, Jasmine observed. You have a better plan? She smiled grimly. Actually, I have an addition to your plan. While you're extracting the kids, I'm going to pay a visit to Commissioner Okafor, not to attack him, to interview him. I'll show up at his office with a camera crew and start asking very pointed questions about his relationship with your wife and his daughter's involvement with your brother. Even if he doesn't answer, the public questions will shake him. He'll make mistakes. Kwame nodded slowly. That could work. The more pressure we apply from different angles, the harder it is for them to coordinate a response. There's one more thing, Cheeky said quietly. Diana, I need to know. When this is over, what happens to her? She's guilty too. She's part of this. But You still have feelings for her, Kwame finished, even after everything. I'm an idiot, I know. You're human, Kwame corrected. Diana made her choices. She'll face consequences, but that's not our focus right now. Right now, we save the children. Everything else is secondary. They spent the next few hours planning every detail. Jasmine provided maps and surveillance photos. Cheek described the compound's layout and the guards' routines. Kwame contacted Kofi, brought him and the team to the warehouse, and briefed them on the operation. As sunset approached, Kwame stood with his mother in a quiet corner of the warehouse. I'm scared, Mama, he admitted. What if something goes wrong? What if I lose them? Mama Adana took her son's face in her hands. Then you lose them fighting with everything you have, not sitting safely while others fight for you. You're doing the right thing, Kwame. Finally, Porni, you're doing the right thing. If I don't make it back, don't talk like that. If I don't make it back, Kwame continued firmly, the evidence against Okafor is set to auto-publish at midnight. Jasmine has everything. The truth will come out no matter what happens to me. Promise me you'll make sure Zara and Malik know I love them, that everything I did was to protect them. You'll tell them yourself, Mama Donna said fiercely. You'll come back with my grandchildren, and we'll rebuild our lives together. This family has survived worse than corrupt police and betrayal. We'll survive this too. At 6:45 p.m., the team loaded into 2 unmarked vans. Kofi drove the first vehicle with Kwame and 3 men. The second van held the remaining security team as backup. They drove through Lagos's evening traffic, the setting sun painting the sky orange and red. Kwame's phone buzzed. A message from Amara. Time's almost up, husband. I haven't seen any money transfers. I hope you're not doing anything stupid. The children are asking for you. Shall I tell them Daddy doesn't love them enough to save them? He didn't respond. Let her wonder. Let her worry. At 7 p.m. exactly, they arrived at the compound. It was a large estate surrounded by high walls, security cameras visible at every corner. Kwame could see guards patrolling, casual and confident. They didn't expect an attack. Cheek's voice came through the earpiece Jasmine had provided. Cameras going down in 3, 2, 1. Now. The security cameras all simultaneously rotated toward the sky, their feeds looping old footage. Cheek had come through. Distraction in 30 seconds, Cheek continued. Get ready. Kwame's heart pounded as they moved into position along the north wall. Kofi had brought rope and climbing equipment. They'd be over the wall in seconds once the distraction started. An explosion rocked the south side of the compound. Not real explosives, but firecrackers and smoke bombs that Cheeky had set up. Shouting erupted as the guards ran toward the commotion. "Now!" Kofi hissed. They scaled the wall quickly and dropped into the compound's garden. The main house loomed before them, lit windows showing movement inside. Kwame spotted a figure in one window. Amara, phone to her ear, looking agitated. They moved swiftly toward the house, using the shadows and landscaping as cover. Kofi reached the back door first and tested it. Locked. He pulled out lock-picking tools and worked quickly while the others kept watch. "Almost there," Kofi muttered. "Just a few more." The lock clicked. They were in. The house's interior was lavish. Expensive furniture, art on the walls, completely at odds with the nightmare happening within. Kwame could hear voices upstairs. Children crying. His children. Every instinct screamed at him to run to them, but training and discipline held him back. They moved methodically, clearing rooms, staying quiet. Emeka took point, his military experience guiding them through the house like ghosts. They reached the stairs. Voices grew clearer. Amara arguing with Jerome about something. Diana's voice joining in, defensive and sharp. Then cutting through everything, Zara's voice. "I want my daddy. You said he was coming." Kwame's control snapped. He started up the stairs, but Kofi grabbed his arm. "Boss, we stick to the plan. Slow and careful. That's my daughter, which is why we do this right. 5 more minutes of patience could save their lives." Kwame forced himself to breathe, to think tactically instead of emotionally. Kofi was right. They climbed the stairs slowly, weapons drawn. Kofi and his men had guns. Kwame had nothing but determination and fear. At the top of the stairs, they could see a hallway with multiple doors. The voices came from the room at the end. Cheek's voice crackled in the earpiece. "Third door on the right. That's where the kids are. Amara's in the room with them. Jerome and Diana are in the next room over. 2 guards just came back inside. They're checking the first floor." "We need to move fast," Kofi whispered. "Before those guards come upstairs." They approached the third door. Kwame could hear his children clearly now. Malik's smaller voice asking when they could go home. Amara's cold response that they'd go home when their father stopped being selfish. Kofi positioned his men, then looked at Kwame and nodded. In one smooth motion, Emeka kicked the door open. They flooded into the room, guns raised. "Nobody move," Kofi commanded. Amara stood in the center of the room, Kwame's children sitting on a bed behind her. She held a gun pointed directly at Zara's head. "I was wondering when you'd show up," Amara said calmly. "You never could resist playing hero." "Daddy!" Zara screamed. "Put the gun down, Amara," Kwame said, his voice steady despite the terror coursing through him. "This is over." "Over?" Amara laughed. "It's just beginning. You really think you can just walk in here and take them? Drop your weapons or I shoot Zara." "I'll do it, Kwame. I've come too far to lose now." The standoff held for 3 heartbeats. 5 armed men pointing weapons at one woman who held a gun to a child's head. An impossible situation with no good solution. Then Cheek appeared in the doorway behind Amara, moving silently. He'd come through a connecting door from the adjacent room. "Diana told me to tell you something," Cheek said quietly to Amara. "She said you were always the weak link, that you'd crack under pressure, that when this moment came, you'd hesitate." Amara's attention flickered for just a second, turning slightly toward Cheek's voice. It was enough. Kofi moved with lightning speed, closing the distance and striking Amara's gun hand. The weapon flew across the room. Kwame was already moving, diving toward his children, throwing his body between them and any possible danger. "Daddy! Daddy! Daddy!" Both children wrapped around him, crying and screaming and holding him so tight it hurt. "I've got you!" Kwame gasped. "I've got you, babies! You're safe! You're safe!" Kofi had Amara pinned on the floor, restraining her while she thrashed and screamed. "You'll never get away with this. Okafor will destroy you. He'll destroy all of you." "Actually," Jasmine's voice came through the earpiece, audible to everyone in the room. "Commissioner Okafor is currently being arrested. My news story just went live 10 minutes ago. Every major outlet is running it. Documents, recordings, bank statements, all of it. He's finished." Amara went still. No, no, that's not. We had a plan. We had safeguards. Your plan fell apart the moment you underestimated how far a father would go to save his children, Kwame said, still holding Zara and Malik. He looked at his wife, his ex-wife, he mentally corrected, and saw a stranger. It's over, Amara. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. I called the real police, Chike said. Not Okafor's corrupt officers. I contacted federal authorities directly, the ones Jasmine has connections with. They're coming to arrest everyone involved in the conspiracy. Jerome appeared in the doorway, saw the situation, and tried to run. Amika clotheslined him effortlessly, dropping him to the ground. Diana stood frozen in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. I didn't know it would go this far, Diana whispered. My father said it was just business, just money. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. People always get hurt, Kwame said quietly. That's what you all forgot. This wasn't just about money or shares or power. This was about people, about family, about children who needed their father and a mother who nearly burned alive. The federal police arrived in force, flooding the compound. Officers swarmed in, taking everyone into custody, Amara, Jerome, Diana, even the guards outside. Cheek surrendered willingly, his cooperation noted, but his crimes still requiring justice. As officers took statements and secured the scene, Kwame sat with his children, refusing to let them go. A paramedic tried to check them for injuries, but they wouldn't release their grip on their father. Are you really here? Zara kept asking. Is this real? It's real, baby. I'm here. I'm never letting you go again. Kofi approached with Kwame's phone. Boss, you need to see this. The news was everywhere. Every channel, every website. Massive corruption scandal rocks Lagos. Police commissioner arrested. Photos of Okafor being led away in handcuffs. Videos of Jasmine's interview where she'd confronted him. The evidence Kwame had provided was damning and irrefutable. But there were also stories about Kwame. Some supportive, billionaire father rescues children from kidnapping wife. Others more skeptical. Questions remain about Okonkwo's role in fire. The confession video Amar had forced him to make hadn't surfaced yet, but it would. There would be investigations, trials, endless scrutiny. Your reputation is going to take hits, Jasmine said, appearing beside him. She'd arrived with the federal police. Some people will always wonder if you were partially guilty. The conspiracy theorists will have a field day. I don't care, Kwame said simply. My children are alive. My mother is safe. The truth is documented. Everything else is just noise. Mama Adana arrived shortly after, brought by one of Kofi's men. She swept Zara and Malik into her arms, all of them crying and laughing together. The family reunion was everything Kwame had fought for, bled for, risked everything for. As dawn broke over Lagos, Kwame stood on the compound's balcony with Kofi, watching the last police vehicles depart. The nightmare was over, but the aftermath was just beginning. What will you do now, boss? Kofi asked. Rebuild, Kwame said. Not the company. That's just money. I'll rebuild my family. Teach my children that integrity matters more than wealth. Show them that their father fought for them when it mattered most. He paused. And I'm going to start using my resources to fight corruption instead of just profiting alongside it. Jasmine was right 5 years ago. I should have been braver. It's not too late to start. No, Kwame agreed. It's not. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You cost me everything. This isn't over. Amara. Kwame deleted it without responding. Amara would spend the next decade or more in prison. Her threats were empty now. Another message came through, this one from Chica. I know I can't undo what I did. I'll spend years in prison, and I deserve it. But thank you for giving me a chance to do one right thing. Tell Mom I'm sorry. Tell Zara and Malik their uncle loves them. And brother, thank you for not giving up on me completely. Kwame stared at that message for a long time. Cheek had betrayed him, had been part of a conspiracy to murder their mother. But he'd also sabotaged that conspiracy from within, had provided the information that saved the children's lives, had chosen redemption when he could have chosen to sink deeper into darkness. Was that enough? Could betrayal be forgiven if the betrayer fought to make things right? Kwame didn't know, but he typed a response. You'll have to earn forgiveness, and it won't be easy, but family is family. We'll talk after you've served your time. The sun continued to rise, burning away the darkness, illuminating a city that was waking up to scandal and revelation and the fall of powerful people who'd thought themselves untouchable. Kwame Okonkwo had lost his wife, his brother, his home, and significant portions of his reputation. But he'd gained something infinitely more valuable, the knowledge that when everything was on the line, he'd fought with everything he had, that he'd put his children's lives ahead of his comfort, that he'd finally chosen to be the man he should have been all along. Behind him, he heard Zara's laughter, real laughter, not the scared sounds from the compound. She was playing with Malik, the trauma already beginning to fade in the resilient way of children who felt safe again. Daddy, Zara called, come play with us. Kwame turned away from the sunrise in the city and the complicated future that awaited them. He walked back to his children, scooped them both up, and held them close. Always, he promised, I'll always play with you. I'll always be here. That's a promise. And for the first time in days, surrounded by the family he'd saved and the people who'd stood by him, Kwame Okonkwo smiled. The end. What would you have done in Kwame's situation? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's prove my mom wrong and reach 1,000 subscribers together. Share this story with anyone who loves intense, realistic African tales. Turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Comment below. Do you think Chike deserves forgiveness? Was Kwame's decision to trust him the right move? Let's discuss. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.